Hey, Candace.
Hi there, how are you?
Okay, and yourself?
Good, thank you.
Or not that okay. The weather has just been like so messed up here in South Africa. So like today I was like feeling like a bit fluish.
Why? What's
So,
the
but
weather
yeah,
like?
mentally I'm good. Mentally I'm good.
Oh no, what's the weather like? Because I'm on the other
Like
side of the
it's
world.
it's just like four different seasons like in one day. It's hot and sunny. The next hour it's raining. Then it's cold.
Yeah.
So today my body was like, like this. But at least like I caught up on it early, self-medicated myself, got some rest. And here I am. But I'm excited. I'm excited for the show.
Good, me too. Well, it's cold here. Well, it's actually +5 today, which is pretty good for us. Snow's melting a little bit, but it has been pretty cold. So,
Which do you prefer? The cold
um,
or the heat?
yeah, it's funny in the wintertime when the weather hovers around 5 degrees, it's actually pretty bad because that's when all the colds come out and everyone starts getting sick. Because when it's
Yeah,
cold,
yeah.
it freezes everything out. But this weather just brings on all sorts of runny noses and all sorts. So I think I would rather it chooses a lane and just decides to be winter, and then we can ski and everyone can go outside and
Yeah.
enjoy the snow.
Have fun. It's there
Yeah.
for the fun.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Can you please pronounce your surname before I make a mistake with it?
Oh, right. It's McPhee.
MacPhie. Okay,
Yeah,
perfect.
perfect.
Yeah,
Yeah.
perfect. So you have lived a phenomenal life from what I have gathered, a life that many will fear to live. I don't know why they will fear to live it, but that's just how, in my personal opinion, people were brainwashed, growing up, that you couldn't do the things that you have actually done. Talking about your life, I mean, your books, your series is nonfiction. It's a true story. It's about you. It's about your life. Correct me if I'm wrong.
You're
You know,
100% correct on everything you said.
Yeah, so I mean, talking about your life would be the same thing as talking about your book. Normally, especially when it comes to authors who focus on fiction, it's like, okay, let me get to know you better, and then let's get to know your books. But you, like, it's all-in-one combo, which is going to be great.
So sweet. That's perfect.
It's going to be great. So, I mean, you have backpacked around the world. You have an MBA, you have a Bachelor of Commerce degree, you worked on four different continents.
Mhm.
You married with three children. I was actually laughing when I read your bio when you said your husband's a self-proclaimed mother effer.
Yes. Oh, so grumpy.
What a way to end it, you know.
I
So
know.
I mean, you've like done it all. So I mean, the floor is yours. How did it all start? What made you like say, okay, I'm packing my bags and I'm going?
Right, right. Well, I think everybody has their moment, right? There's a moment in your life where you're just like, okay, like I'm done. And or maybe they don't. And maybe, what you said before was really interesting about, you know, I did all the right things. I went to, finished high school, went to university, got my degree, got a first job. I did all the right, these are the things that you should do in your life. And the conventional path. But during my conventional path building, my mom was very sick. She had cancer. She got sick when I was 14, and she died when I was 22. So, and my mom was literally the most vibrant, vivacious, just go getter type of woman you've ever met. And I floundered a little after she died, not only losing that kind of a person in your life, but also just didn't know what to do with myself because so much of my life I'd spent looking after her. So I
Yeah.
continued on my conventional path, getting a job, moving to Toronto because that's what every English Montrealer does. I grew up in Montreal and it's French, and every English Montrealer moves, well, not everyone, a lot of them moved to Toronto. And I just thought, no, No. It just got to a point where nothing worked. I tried all sorts of activities to kind of turn my life around and just really embrace this conventional path. And I just thought, nope. So I sold everything. I sold my car. I kept my favorite furniture, put it in my dad's basement, and just left and said, you know what? There's more. There's more, and I'm not like, honestly, at that point in my life, I felt like I could be 80. Like I was, in my mid 20s, and I would go to work and come home and bake muffins and freeze them. I was the saddest person,
Yeah.
this person I knew. And it just felt so fake. It just didn't fit right. So that's when I left, and I had my backpack and I left and just thought, I said to my family, I'll be back in a year, but I yeah, no, and everybody knew I wasn't coming back in a year, and I just left and just started this adventure. And this is what these books are. It's this around the world journey that I took, of both sort of personal self-discovery as a woman, but also just all the challenges you face on the road, from the loneliness to the harassment to the adventure to the ups and downs of all kinds of situations, the people that you meet, and it's all there in a kind of funny kind of really trying to bring the humor and really trying to make light of the whole journey. So that's what this is.
I guess, and I'm gonna make an assumption here. That's why you call the first book "Finding Color." It's like you wanted to go out in the world to find, color.
Yes.
Find yourself.
Yes.
Because
And
we
that's
lost.
it was it because the book starts, the first book starts just when I'm living in Toronto, and I'm kind of trudging through my day, and everything is just this gray world, this beige world where I live, where nothing has color, and it's just heavy, and
Yeah.
that's what this first book is about, is really just, opening up that part of myself and realizing that it's still there, and finding it in this first part of the journey that I take.
So we start off in Toronto.
Mhm.
Where do we go to next?
The first part of the book goes to Greece, and that's just to kind of dip my toe into the water kind of holiday. And then after that, it goes to the UK and all around the UK and Ireland. And then it's the first sort of leg of the big part of the trip, and I go to Russia. So the first book ends on a train in Russia, leaving Russia.
Yeah. So I know the second book was, Russia and then into Istanbul, from what I've gathered.
Mm.
So that's correct.
The second book is actually goes through the Baltics, so like Estonia, Lithuania, Latvia, Poland. So some really kind of odd places. Back then, like people call this like historical fiction because it is from the 90s, so it's a while ago. Yeah, so that goes through some tough places traveling as a woman, and just tangling with the locals is always never fun. It's the whole situation. And then it goes, that one goes through Austria, Croatia. This was before Game of Thrones and before Dubrovnik became very popular as a tourist destination. And then ends in Prague. So that's the second book, called Life Strikes Back. And that one is really about deeply untangling grief, but also dealing with life on the road as a woman, and just the crazy stuff that happened. Back then, you didn't have your phone. You didn't have, the only thing you had was a book, right? You had one book, one travel book, and there's no pictures, there's nothing. You just have to read and go, okay, well, let's go see it. And you'd go see it, you'd follow the map, you would take 10 buses and 2 trains, and then walk for 45 minutes to get to one thing. And I wanted the reader to be immersed in that time. I wanted the reader to really sort of understand what it was like not to have all the answers in the palm of your hand and to have to discover it yourself, and what it was like humping this big bag around and just trying to like figure out, and how vulnerable you are, and what it's like to sign your way through a day in terms of just figuring out, you know, where you are and where you're supposed to be, where you want to be. And so, yeah, and just the general vulnerabilities of that, but also funny. Like, it's funny. I kept the funniest stories. I hope people laugh out loud and cringe. I'm very honest in my books. I just feel that I put it all out there. Like, it's enough time has passed. I was really naive, and to be fair, a lot of bad things happened, but I think I was lucky, because I just kind of went through life and just gone, okay, well, let's see what happens, you know. And
What
I
happened next? Yeah.
there's a lot of interesting things that happened. Met a lot of really nice people along the way, but it's a trip. It's you get to sort of sit back in your chair, open it up, the book, and just read and laugh, and that's what it's for. Book 3 I'm working on just now, and that takes place in a bit more of Europe, but it mostly takes place in the Middle East, in Jordan, Israel, and Egypt. And book 4 is a safari I did in Africa from Nairobi to Harare. And then book 5 takes place in South Africa. So that's a good one. And
okay.
the good ones. So I don't know if it's still going, the Baz bus from Johannesburg down to Cape Town, and enjoyed my time on the Wild Coast, going down, and then spent a fair bit of time in Cape Town as well. But yeah, so it's a whole bunch of adventures there, and then it also takes place in Australia. So yeah, it's a crazy trip, and I was very frugal. I'm just writing book 3 right now, and I just got to the point where I was looking at my bank account, and I had $6,500, and I just sort of sheer curiosity, I did the calculation to see how much that would be today, and it's about 12,000 Canadian dollars, and I thought, my gosh, that's still not a lot. Like, that was what I lived on for 5 months, and just kind of, eating sandwiches and taking the bus. Like, I talk about how in such a rare way, because it doesn't happen like this much in your life, I wasn't time dependent. I wasn't time boxed. Nowadays, I don't know for you, but for me, it's like, okay, we have 2 weeks on a holiday. How much can we pack into that? This was like, I have all the time in the world and only this much money. So I can travel for this much money amount of time. So everything I would do was the cheapest option. Like, if there was a taxi, I'd be like, nope, I'm taking the bus. Or if there's, classes, I would always take third class. I took a train across Namibia from Windhoek to Swakopmund, and I took the third class train car, and I was there. And honestly, I don't know what was happening, but it was like overnight train. It was 300 kilometers. It took 8 hours to travel across the desert. And they were blaring music and blaring a movie. And I was so tired. I slept through my stop at Swakopmund, and I woke up in another town, Walvis Bay. And I was there, and I got off the train, and I went, holy banana, how could I sleep through this train? First of all, because it was so noisy. And I had to walk around Walvis Bay, which is like a really small town on the coast of Namibia, and try to find some way to get back. Anyways, I ended up meeting this guy at a travel agency, and he said for $20 he would drive me back. So for $20, dropped me off at the hostel. Like, just had these crazy experiences, and just, I got lucky and met nice people, and just was very open to opportunities and just trying new things. And I think it was also a different time, like I know just as many dangerous things happened, but I don't know if people are still that open and are still that helpful to a stranger who kind of rucks up and got stuck on the wrong place. So, but yeah.
For me, I think it's like, people pick up on your vibe.
Hmm.
Like wherever you go, I mean, even if you go down the road, okay,
Hmm.
so if you go with like, this openness and happiness and kindness and you're smiling and the vibe is good, the energy levels are high,
Hmm.
people relate to that, you
Hmm.
know. But now if you are going to like, be like a normal standard tourist who thinks, okay, you know what, I'm visiting a country, so I have some sort of like, you know, status here, I
Hmm.
don't think, anyone from that country would really like that, or from that specific area would really like that. But if you come there and you adapt to their way of living, to their culture,
Yeah.
you're respectful,
Yeah.
people will adapt to you,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
That's
I
what I
agree.
personally feel.
I agree, and there are people that aren't nice everywhere you go. Um, One of the things I did make an effort to learn was always thank you in whatever language I was
Yeah,
going.
yeah,
Um, it's inevitable you make mistakes, and but generally, yes, I agree with you. I was lucky and just had these. So all of these stories are kind of spun up in these books, so everyone gets to take the trip too. And really, I spent a lot of time from describing internet cafes to phone booths to just what it was like to take the train and having to change money constantly. Now, God, you just slap your credit card or your phone down to pay for something. But it was it was a struggle. Those things that were a struggle then would just be easy to sort of float through these days. Finding a place to stay, you would just look on your phone, and it was different. And so I wanted to capture all of that, and not because I needed people to know what I did. I know loads of people did it. What I really wanted to share was the spirit of the journey and the fact that um, it was hard. I spent my formative years looking after someone, a very ill, person who meant everything to me. And I just didn't have any time to get to know myself. And that's what I did on this
mhm,
trip. And I do feel that a lot of people take their own path could be, have loads of different boulders, but all is challenging, right? And you end up in your 20s and you think, wow, I don't even know who I am and what I like. And it's hard. And what I wanted was this for people to look at this and say, you can do it. You can figure it out. Like
yeah,
you have to put yourself in whatever position it is for you to spend the time to get to know yourself. And this is how I did it. And I know there's lots of different answers, but the spirit of the journey is really for folks to be able to say, you can do it. Like, I didn't have a lot of money. I definitely had a step up. I'm not going to lie. I had a bit of cash after my mom died. My grandfather died and he left me, I think it was $10,000 or something. And most people would say, oh, whatever. But I thought, okay, that's my ticket to freedom. And I know that a lot of people don't have that. I was given this opportunity and I did what I did with it. My brother bought a car and I did that. So, but
yeah,
everybody had choices, right? And I didn't have a lot as I went through because but I was so happy. Up until now, when I'm very lucky where I am at the moment, but it was this freedom of just being me and um, figuring it out. It was so I wanted to share that and the funny bits. So that's what I wanted to do.
yeah. I mean, your story and your books can be seen as empowering, like in my opinion, honestly,
Mhm.
because people, like how we started off this podcast, live in so much fear. you know
Mhm.
we're not, by reading the book, okay, doesn't mean maybe, it's your journey or your life path to tour the world, you know but it's also saying that, look, there's something specific that you want to do in your life that's going to bring you fulfillment. Go for it,
Mhm.
you
Mhm.
know
Mhm.
go for it.
Mhm.
But majority of people today are just, the word fear just pops up again in my mind. I'm scared to do it. There's so many what ifs. What if it doesn't work out? What if
Mhm.
I fail? What
Yeah.
if I run out of money? So many what ifs. So you're limiting yourself. And
Mhm.
that energy levels with the universe, it's what's going to like be your downfall at the end of that journey. Because
Mhm.
you're limiting yourself and beliefs of what you're actually capable of doing or
Mhm.
exploring.
Mhm.
So like
Absolutely.
I'm just like dissecting your story and your book and how empowering it actually can be to
Mhm.
readers.
Mhm.
I mean, that whole journey, which you remembered, I don't know how you remembered all of that, but you did remember it, has now led you to being like an award-winning author.
Mhm.
You know,
Mhm. Mhm.
look at that.
I had journals. I part of my sort of healing journey was writing it down, and so. But to be honest, my journals were um, more of a safe space to kind of dump all of my feelings. So I combined the journals and the pictures that I had and dug out of a box and started to cobble together the story and what I wanted it to be. But I look at my kids, and my kids are in their teens now, and there's so much social. It's such a different, complex world to navigate with all these
Yeah.
social pressures. And I didn't have that. But I get it's overwhelming, and I see my kids struggle with it, and just the just being comparing to other people or comparing situations, and everyone always posts the best stuff. And one of the things I did in the book that and it was my own way at the time. When someone goes on a holiday, they post like, "Oh, it's the best picture." It's funny and it's a great angle,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
what I did when I could was to send an email home, and my emails were always such crap. Like they were the happy, oh, so much fun, like met so many nice people, and meanwhile I'd been crying in the shower. But nobody needs to know that. So my emails kind of remind me of those real sort of posy, TikToks or Instagram or whatever you would put up there, just to showcase what a good time you're having to justify, the trip or whatever. So we had something like that back then. It was just email, right? So you would you would send a
Yeah.
group note to the handful of folks you knew who had email, and share a whole bunch of crap about what a great time you're having, when you're really each day is work. So I think life is kind of like that too, but it's just so much more difficult now. I think, but it's difficult, right?
It's an extremely different world we're living in when we have to compare it to the 90s. You
Hmm.
know, extremely different world, which is making it, as you said with your children, it's all about, comparing these days, who's living a better life. And those same people, like who are taking all these fancy pictures, selfie time by the pool, wherever they may be traveling, they're probably not even having a good time. Because if you notice in today's world, wherever you go, so that same person taking the picture straight after that, they're not concerned about the experience or interact with people. It's like, I'm on the phone now.
Hmm.
Now it's just post this picture, okay, where I need to edit, and then you're typing. You're spending most of your time away on the phone.
Hmm.
So what is the point of that trip or of that journey?
Hmm.
you know
I
and
know.
it's now leading to many people, especially like our younger generation today, making it even more difficult for them to reflect on their lives and find that self-awareness.
Yes. Yeah. I think I don't know. I would assume, and this, we shouldn't assume, but it would be difficult to get to know the true things that you like. You're influenced by bombarded by all sorts of things that sort of pop up on your phone. And I get so cross when my kids go, well, they'll tell me something. I'm like, what's your source? TikTok? And they're like, think it all. I'm like, and, you don't even know who that was putting that out there. And but yeah, I just and getting to know who you are and what you like, that takes work, and it takes introspective, and it's not easy. And I think it would be easy to sort of trail along a path of something that looks shiny and interesting. But when this not last summer, our summer, the summer before, my kids and I did a trip, and we had the like we called it the family gram, and then I had the socials that went out to all the friends, but we only had a few people on it, and we would post like the worst stuff, like about all the crappy things, like, you know, I don't know, someone throwing up, or someone else, like, you know, I'd washed clothes with a pen and it exploded, and just putting stuff out there like, is this really what happens on these kind of family trips and stuff? So I still look back at that and smile, because those are actually my fun memories. Those were the funny things where we were struggling through rather than the perfect moments. But I don't know, everyone has their own thing,
Yeah.
right?
I'm curious, as a parent, like, would you advise like your children to go on a tour around the world the way you did it
Oh
in
yes,
2025?
I would pack their bag and make sure they did it. But I made them that summer, and we took a trip and did our trip. I made them live in a small suitcase and drag them around from one place to another. Out of three, one of them had a big smile. The other two, the one was miserable, and one was kind of going with the flow a little bit. So I would think that only one of them would be will travel with that.
Yeah.
But everyone's different, right? And I have brothers, and they didn't travel like that, and they kept saying to me, I'm happy you're happy, but I wouldn't want to do it. I don't think it's for everyone living like that. And but if it is for you, I think you know deep down, because you feel like you're restless. You know, you're tapping. You're not settled. You feel like you need more. You need something, like it's just kind of scratching under your.
Yeah. As you said, there's so much gray,
Mhm,
going around. I
mhm,
had, like, in my personal life, like, a similar experience once, like, I
mhm,
mean, and this conversation always pops up. I mean, the conversation of self-awareness, the conversation of how we were actually brainwashed, by the whole entire system growing up, about
mhm,
how our parents should actually think versus how we think today. I
mhm,
had, like, conversation with another colleague of mine today about it as well.
mhm,
And as you said, you go to school, you go to high school, then it's college, go out, get a job. And the
mhm,
conversation I had with the colleague today is that, okay, no, finance a car, finance a house that you're going
mhm,
to pay off for the next 20 to 30 years,
mhm.
while you're still in your 20s,
Yeah,
so,
yeah.
and it just, for me also okay, so I mean, before, podcasts and, you know, radio DJ and all that came along, for me it was like, I was just like in clubs and I was DJing, and that's
Mm,
like all I wanted to do. But
yeah,
I also was living in, even if it was a small percentage, but that fear, slowly declined as the years unfolded.
mhm,
Um, and I was 50%, I still had to have like a full-time job, to cover the
mhm,
bills,
mhm,
you know. And that was the fear that, you lived, like I should always question myself, like, why don't you go into it, like, just do it full time, focus on your music full time. And then there's
mhm,
that fear that keeps popping up, but what if,
mhm, mhm,
but I'm lucky that, I just eliminated the what ifs like early in my life.
mhm,
And 2019 comes, I'm like, I got this, as you said, like this urge, like something is missing. And
mhm,
then it led me to go to Thailand. So
mhm,
came up and I'm like, okay, cool, let me go to Thailand. And
mhm,
going to Thailand, that experience alone for me spiritually, like, just changed my whole mindset and eliminated all forms of fear that I could
mhm,
ever have. So
mhm,
sometimes I think you also just need to follow your instincts, because it's telling you something.
mhm,
And I come back to South Africa, I'm like, screw this. Okay. I'm like, resignation with the job. I'm going to Thailand, and from there I'm gonna start, because of, like, I went there. Is when I go back, talking about how you vibe with people, how you fit in with people, do you adapt to their culture? And
mhm,
and I was able to, like, meet some friends. I connected with a few people who worked at the clubs and so on, so I come back, that's it, job over, I'm going in with us, and I'm going to do it in a different country because I feel like, comfortable.
mhm.
2020 comes, okay, COVID hits,
Mhm.
unfortunately, you
Yeah.
know And I was like so lost, during that period. But
Mhm.
my life path, you know, thing is, as you said, it's not for everyone. And sometimes maybe in life you may want something, but the universe has another plan for you. God has a different plan for you.
Mhm.
So I thought in 2020, okay, you know what, it's over now. This is not going to happen. I thought, this won't last for so long. COVID will be over soon, whatever. Come 2021, it's the same situation. But I was still concentrating on, my work.
Mhm.
But in doing so, I never realized that I was also finding my true meaning and purpose. I just had to
Mhm.
go through this dark period,
Yeah.
because we wouldn't be on this podcast right now if I didn't still remain consistent with the work, that I was doing.
Yeah.
So at times, like I would still love, to go to a different country now and again and, be there for a while and then from there off to another. But then, I also have to, come to a pragmatic realization that I also have like a lot of like humanitarian responsibilities,
Yeah.
besides this podcast, which is also, to empower a lot of creatives out there, up and coming independent creatives. Like
Yeah.
I'm on two more podcasts as a co-host, which is a humanitarian podcast. So it's moral of the story is you just have to like go for it and just see what the instinct is telling you, because if it wasn't for me going to Thailand, I wouldn't have eliminated all of the what ifs
Mhm.
and wouldn't have truly like found who I really am and what I want to do with my life.
Mhm.
So maybe it was only supposed to be that one journey to define who Kino was supposed to be.
Mhm.
For you it was supposed to be many journeys for you to
Mhm.
now become an award-winning author,
Mhm. Mhm.
because you only
Mhm.
started writing like in COVID, correct? Like,
Yes.
in COVID, you decided to try
Yeah.
writing,
Yeah.
but you were journaling, the whole time. So, it took all of that to lead to that.
Mhm.
So yeah, moral of the story is, follow that gut instinct. Something is telling you to do something, go for it, and
Mhm.
see where it does actually
Mhm.
lead you. Taking the risk.
Yeah.
And why I asked you from a parent point of view, if you would allow your children, because like what like evaluated for myself and seen in society is like, you know, the news is not there to enlighten your life. Okay.
Mhm.
You know, there's more bad news than there is good news, because there's more money in bad news than there is good news. And that's just
Mhm.
how the world works. So parents who are like, when mom, I want to go here, or I want to go here, I want to get experience, or even to go to a music festival,
Mhm.
parents are becoming so paranoid, you know?
Yeah.
So I just have to get your view on that. Like, so what would you like, also like tell parents out there in situations like this where you got an adventurous young individual who wants to go out and see the world, explore, experience, you know, and say they've read your book and they like go to their parents straight after that, like, I want to do this, I want to give
Yeah.
it a shot, I want to give it a try. But the parents are like, nah, this is going to happen or that's going to happen. There's a war here. These people are fighting with each other. You know?
Yeah. I think as I will speak from my own experience, I have to trust that sounds really lame, but I raised them right. Like I raised them, they all have chores. They all understand how to do stuff. When we were on holiday that summer, I'm like, okay, you're the navigator. You have to navigate this. You have to learn how to do this. And took them to a laundromat and said, this is how we laundromat. And if I haven't raised them with the tools that they need, then shame on me. I think as a parent, it's my job to get in there and know that my kids, um, just silly things like walking down the sidewalk in a new city. You don't just stop in the middle of the sidewalk and tie your shoe. You go over to the side and tie your shoe. Just small, simple things, and just learning to be a good human, if you will. That as a parent, you need to teach your kids. And I'm confident that I've done the best I could. I've loaded them up with all sorts of stuff, and they the other interesting thing is that you learn more from your mistakes than doing right. So you got to let them make their mistakes, and
Yeah.
hopefully
Yeah.
they're safe ones. But everyone's got to go through life and have their own learnings, and I can teach them everything till they're blue in the face, but if they don't experience it, it's not going to resonate. It's not going to, stick to them. The other thing for me, if someone's thinking about doing it and it makes your stomach rumble or makes your stomach turn, that's probably a cool thing, right? I get when I worked in the corporate world for 20 years, I loved my job. I was really good at it. I would go in and just go through, help people get through my day, come home. But I never felt that. I was never like, oh, anxious or, oh, like what's going to happen, because I was so comfortable. And I think sometimes the magic happens in space where you're not comfortable and where you're out of your comfort zone and you have to try something new. And that's where you grow. And if you're not doing those things and pushing yourself to do something, it doesn't have to be go to Thailand or travel the world. It could just be trying a new class, or, going to I don't know, going to anything new in your neighborhood, or, joining a local walk group. I don't know, something that makes you a bit nervous and sets you on a new course is always good. It doesn't have to be huge. It just has to be something that just gives you that little bit of, ooh, okay, let's see where we go.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm on the edge now.
Yes.
I'm on the edge now. Yeah, humans need to do stuff that scares them. If it
Mhm.
scares you, go for it.
Mhm.
Like this thing about humans thinking, okay, I'm going to be living forever. That mentality needs to stop. You're not going to be living forever. Now I know
Mhm.
everyone has different beliefs.
Mhm.
What happens, after that? But I mean, while you are here,
Mhm.
you need to do the stuff that really excites you,
Yeah.
right? You know, that's what your book, for me, actually pushes out there. That's a
Mhm.
narrative I can say, push out. You need to do stuff that excites you, that scares you, that
Mhm.
wants you, that puts you on that edge, like, you
Mhm.
know, and it's like you have the smile on your face,
Yeah.
but you don't know what's next to come.
Yeah.
But there's the smile. Let me see what's going to happen next.
Yeah.
The brain, by research has proven to be like, focusing more on the negative, what can go wrong, but
Mhm.
not what can go right. The
Mhm.
moment something pops up, no, but what if it goes wrong? No, but it can go just as right as well.
Yeah. Gonna figure it
Yeah,
out. Just figure it out.
exactly. And yeah, it's
Yeah.
not easy. I'm not trying to say people out there that it's easy to think that
Mhm.
way or live that way. From what I've experienced over the last 4 years, it's definitely not easy
Mhm.
psychologically,
Yeah.
emotionally,
Yeah.
physically. It's
Yeah.
not easy. But if you don't go for it, I just feel like you're just never going to know.
Yeah.
And you mentioned comfort zones. You're going to end up in comfort zone after comfort zone after comfort zone. And you're going to wake up with so many regrets,
Mhm.
in your 50s, 60s, 70s. And it's going to be like, I should have just done it. I
Mhm.
should have just went for it. What's the worst that could have happened? Like, what's the
Mhm.
worst?
Yeah.
You
Could
know?
look stupid. Oh well. Fair enough.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's interesting.
If you know,
Go ahead.
no, sorry, can carry on.
No,
Huh?
no, no. You were going on, going on. I interrupted you. Sorry.
Yeah. No, I was just gonna say, I was gonna use an example. Like, if you decide, okay, let me take a chance, let me relocate to another country,
Mhm.
if that's what I'm feeling inside, like the instinct is saying, okay, go to this place because there's a specific reason, and only
Mhm.
God and the universe knows why there's a specific reason.
Mhm.
And let's just say, for example, you're going out just like what I did, just to see exactly what I was meant to come here and do, which I found out
Mhm.
while I was there. But in the event, okay, if you run out of money or whatever the situation may be, you know, put in that effort to say, okay, I've run out of money. Maybe let me try to see if I can find like a job here,
Mhm.
or something, you
Yeah.
know, you know, like just adapt. I mean, you worked in different countries, like
Yeah.
4 different continents.
Yeah.
What's that experience like?
Well, that was very different. When I worked in London to start, and I did a bunch of temp jobs that wouldn't exist these days. Just really administrative doing stuff in that would probably all
Yeah.
happen online, so they're like obsolete. I also I did a number of temp jobs along the way. For example, in Australia, I worked in a bar, and then I worked at a bank. And I got this really sort of random job at a bank, and it turned out to be pretty fun. And then what else have I done? Oh God, I've done all sorts of crap jobs. I know my best friend along the way. She did some traveling. Just her jobs were funny. She ended up cleaning the hostel just to stay for free. So there's lots of ways you can kind of make it work.
That's a
She also
brilliant option.
she worked on a fishing boat shelling shrimps, and like, you kind of just pick up. And she worked in a farm picking vegetables as well. Like, you kind of just pick up what you can, and if you need it, there's you got a little bit of gumption, you can usually find something. It's not going to pay loads, but it will kind of get you through. I think there's also this wonderful freedom of not having stuff. Like, it's weird, when I moved back to London after I traveled around the world, I got really stressed when I couldn't move in a taxi, because it just felt like I had too much stuff. Like, if I had more bags that could fit into the back seat of a taxi, I'm like, oh, I've got too much, and it was just this whole living quite simply and not having stuff is quite freeing. Like, it's different now. Like, oh, so much stuff. I got 3 kids and a whole bunch of crap, and it's just like, oh my God, moving would be such a hassle. But then it was this wonderful, your whole life was just, you could wrap your arms around everything important to you. And, and even then, if you lost that, as long as I had my passport, I was good. It's just a different mindset. And it doesn't work, obviously, if there's lots of other people around, like if you got a whole crew to support. But when you're on your own, there's this kind of, I don't know, this kind of freedom that you just don't get in other things. But I don't know, it's very different. And I don't know, it would be very different to live that way now. I guess I could do it. It would be strange, but I don't know. So, but yeah. One other thing that you were saying before, my mom died when she was 52, and she went kicking and screaming. She did not want to leave. She tried her hardest to stay around and fought like, nobody's business. But when I met my husband, I said, look, I don't want to save stuff. Like, I don't want to save everything for, when we retire, let's do all this fun stuff. I said, if we have to work longer, then we'll work longer. I don't want to save it. Like, even if, someone buys you a nice box of soap, like, I don't save it. I crack it open and use it. Like, I'm not saving something for another day. Like, I'm obviously saving for my retirement so I can do more stuff, but I'm not waiting. Like, I'm not waiting until some other time to get something done. If I want to do it, and if I have the ability and the opportunity, I will. I'm not going to say, oh, I'll save that one for later. Because, like you said, like, you can't just take for granted that later's there. You need to, within your means, and if you can do it, then do it. Open that box. Don't save the fancy soap. Use it when you need it.
Yeah. It's sort of, it's humility.
Mm-hmm.
It's humility.
Mm-hmm.
Like, don't get attached to the materialistic items of this world, because one day it can be here, the next day it can be gone. Focus on experiences. Like, okay, but my life, it's all about risk. I'm going to be honest about it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, my mic keeps
muting. You got so excited you went on mute.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, I'm back. Can you hear me?
I can. Go on.
Yeah. Hopefully it stays that way. So it's not just like I'll do stupid things, with money. But if I feel like, there's something that I can invest in that's going to grow like my career as a music producer or grow the podcast, or there's an opportunity, especially like, so I have a consulting agency that's for independent creators, from your lower to your middle class who don't have the necessary tools and resources, to actually get themselves going. So I assist them, with that. And I attempt to create opportunities for them to work with people like outside the borders of South Africa, because the mindset in this country or bulk of the country is still like, it's all here and there's like, we're entitled and all this other crap that goes on politically. So, I try to convert that mindset, and I provide opportunities for them, to collaborate or work with certain creatives, in other countries to boost their international presence and, see where it goes from there. So like I would invest in stuff like that, and people would be like, no, but you're crazy, because, what's the ROI on it? Like how long it's going to take to, recuperate all of those funds? And I'm like, it doesn't matter, right? At the moment, I just feel this is the right thing to do. It's growing my brand. It's also helping someone, and it's building a legacy. For now, I'm just following my instinct on it. My parents, yeah, at times, okay, look, they fully support me. At times, they can also be like, like, what's up? What are you doing?
Yeah.
Like, where's the money actually going? And it's at times it can be very complex to explain to someone who doesn't understand, how this all works or comes together. But I feel no shame in it. I feel no shame. Yes, do we need to prepare for, retirement and the future? Of course, but first live a life like Candace has lived. Then, focus on that. That's what I'm trying to say. But if you're going to start planning for retirement in your 20s, like, I mean, come on, dude, like, what's up? That's the question I'm asking, like, what's up? And like, even when I, started like working at 20, and I was like, 50% being a DJ and so on. And then I was told, okay, I need to save for this and I need to save for that. I need to open this policy. And then I'm like, okay, I did it at the time because I'm like, yeah, this is how it is. And, going now, I'm like 26, 27, I'm like, that doesn't make sense to me. This doesn't make sense to me, because I'm sitting in front of this financial advisor who's telling me that I need to save from now and, until I'm 63 years old. And that's when I can actually, take out those funds. Like, nah, something doesn't make sense here. What are you doing, What's up?
I completely understand, because I was in my 20s, obviously, when I sort of ditched everything and spent, whatever little bit of cash I did have, just blew it all to go to zero bank balance, and then just worked back up again, and now have a nice house with my husband and my family, and we're very fortunate. But I worked hard, I worked really hard. I spent a lot of years kind of getting it back. But I think one of my fears while I was doing it was, depleting that bank balance down to zero, was, how am I gonna get out of this? Like, how do I climb back up? And I was lucky. I had gone to university and was able to leverage that to find a job, and lived in shared accommodation for a really long time and started to save, but also had fun at the same time. Like, I think there's just this balance in some people just like you, like they're just whoop, what's going, I'm just gonna, like, I'll get there. I'm a little more square. Like, to be fair, if you look at my personality type, I'm actually quite a nerd, and I'm a proud nerd. It's okay. And it was awkward for me at times to live like I did, but like I said, that was the space I needed to be in to heal and just to get to know myself. But I don't know. For me, I think I would love for people to push themselves. Like, if it makes you feel uncomfortable, do it. If you're like, throwing up, maybe not. But maybe yes, you know, and just realize, I think the thing I sort of just tugged myself down a bit while I was doing it, because I kept questioning, oh, this is not the usual thing. Like, I should be working in a thing, you know, at home, and, you know, like plotting that normal life path that everyone takes. And it was a bit of a push pull, and it was difficult to kind of step out there. But you'll get it back if you work hard, and you apply yourself. And, you know, there's times where, you know, I lived in South London, right? And from the walk from the tube to after when my first moved back to London, after I traveled around the world, moved back to London, the walk from the tube to my house was 20 minutes. There was a bar in between, and I knew the guy that owned the bar, and he was really protective. So if I felt uncomfortable, I could jump into the bar and I could stay there for a bit until like the weird passed. But there was prostitutes across the street from my window, and both sexes. And my roommate used to get mad because he was always offered drugs on this walk home. Like, I did not live in a nice neighborhood. It wasn't a great place, but I did it. You know, I made it. I saved, and I you know, would I want my kids to live, you know, out their window with, you know, a whole bunch of different things happening? No. But ironically, it was very busy on the road, so I never felt completely unsafe because there was always people around. But it was, you know, you do what you have to do to, you know, move on. So
Yeah, 100%. When you were talking about, you know, your bank account is like at zero, you know, I've all no, we experience it as part of life. Okay, it happens. So, like, you know, just to like push out like a new quote, that you haven't lived life until your account is at zero and you have to come back with nothing. You
yeah.
know?
Yeah. And again, I was lucky because I
Yeah.
was at
It's
zero,
like
but
all
I
zero.
knew people, so I could sleep on their couch for a while until I could afford, and then I got a job until I could afford, you know, to pay for accommodate, like, you know, whatever first month's rent or whatever I needed. So I did have some fallback plans. I wasn't zero and destitute on the street. I definitely had connections where I could hang out until I could, to, you know, afford my own place. But yeah, you know, it's a bit humbling, and but no, it was part of it, and I was willing to do it, to experience the experiences I did.
And find yourself.
And
And
find
find
myself.
yourself.
Indeed. Yeah.
So where would you say, you know, to conclude, like, was the best experience of your journey, country wise or culturally?
Um, so in terms of wow, um, I have to say Moscow was the most intimidating, grand place. Like, everything from the metro stations had chandeliers to the standing in red squares, an experience that I'll never forget. In terms of just sheer beauty, there's probably the coast of Croatia and South Africa. When I went down the wild coast, that was so beautiful as well. Life changing the most was probably the safari that I did from Nairobi to Harare, and just driving those roads, and just the plains and the colors, and that experience forever changed me. Like, I don't I was so, like, I had no idea what to experience. And I had just come from the Middle East and Egypt, where Egypt was, I could only go out for a couple hours a day because I got harassed so badly. And it was so tiring to walk around the streets because hordes of people would follow you and shout, and it was awful. But when I showed up in Nairobi, it was nothing. It was just, I was just accepted, and just it was this lightness of the place, and it was right in jacaranda season, and all the trees were this pop of beautiful purple I had never seen, and the leaves were, or the flowers were falling onto these terracotta roads, and it was just, I had never experienced that, and just the people and the smiles and the openness and just this real willingness to embrace. I will forever, it just still, it's still there. Like it was years, and it still sits in this wonderful place in my heart. So.
Wow. Now this has been really, really mind blowing. Like, I mean, if someone looks at you today like a complete stranger, they would never ever say, given your current lifestyle now, that you have done all those things.
No, they just they just go, oh,
unless they read the book,
just that lady. I know.
Yeah, she's just like, an ordinary lady with, family, like, anyone else out there, all normal, until got me to the gate. Yeah. Until they like really get to like know.
Yeah. Well, got to keep some secrets, although I don't really keep a lot of secrets in these books, but it's just a snapshot, so you don't know everything.
Well, I'm sure there is some, certain things, that you will like.
Did you hear me at that point?
No use. It's okay. You're back.
Yeah. Need to check that out after the show, what's happening with that. But, we all have some personal experience, that we'll have to just keep to ourselves. Especially if it was an experience that just like completely redefined, your entire life. Because it's so hard at times to also explain to people like, look,
Oh, I've lost you now. It's very awkward being the only person here. Is the moment to have a drink? There you are.
Sure what's going on.
It was just like it was like we were on a date or something. You just decided to stop talking to me. I was like, oh, I'll just have a drink.
Yeah, thanks for being patient throughout that. I need to check. There's something.
Doing the same thing.
Maybe it means you need to go out. It's Friday night for you, isn't it? Shouldn't you be out? Or Thursday night.
Yeah, but look, I mean, that's what keeps the show organic, We just
Absolutely.
humans, shit happens. We're back. I completely forgot I remembered what I was saying, to conclude. Like, I can tell someone a certain story that, something spiritually deep within me told me to go to this place or to go around the world. But people will never really understand what really happened, how that experience transformed you. They'll never really get that. They'll just be like, oh no, one of those things,
And that's,
so we're all.
I tried to, as I was writing, actually, just a quick thing. As I started writing it, I put all this sort of logistical happenings, and I gave it to a friend of mine and said, oh, what do you think? And she goes, oh, it's like reading an itinerary. And I went, ooh, okay. And I'm like, okay, that hurt a bit, but I get it. So I went back in and added in all of those things you were just saying, like the uncomfortable feelings, and in book one, there's a couple things well, there's a lot of things I'm not proud of in book one. Like, I'm proud of the book, but things I did, not so much. But I felt if I didn't put them in, then it's not as juicy, right? It needs to be juicy. It needs to be like, oh, you need to cringe, you need to do it. So I had to lay it all out, and it's all there, like all the feelings, all of the uncomfortable, all of the stupid stuff, all of
Yeah,
the,
yeah,
you know,
yeah.
if I was less than proud of myself, I'm like, oh God, that's. I got a lecture from my dad is 83, and his neighbor gave me a lecture. She read my book, oh, I'm so mad at you. And I'm like, I was stupid. So, and I left that
Yeah.
in there for you. So there's a lot of room for growth in the books, because in the first one I was naive. I was very versed on taking care of someone, but not very versed on the world. And that's what it happens throughout it, and just making some silly choices, but having fun and doing and funny things. So I wanted to share that those very human things. It also helps that it happened quite a while ago, and there's enough distance between this me and that me that it almost just feels like writing about a character, because I'm so different now than I was then. But there is some times like in Africa, and I'm looking forward to. I'm just finishing up book 3 right now, but I'm so looking forward to getting to book 4, because there's this. I want to share that feeling of Africa, and I just don't. It's just, I can't even, like, even now, just with the words, like I get very emotional and very it's such a special place for me, and in terms of the way I felt there, I have never felt anywhere else. So,
Okay. But
yeah.
the key word you said there, human. You showing your audience, that look, I'm human. People are so scared to take those risks because they're scared to make mistakes. It's part of being human. It's
Yeah.
part of life. It's part of the journey.
Yes.
You're
Yeah.
authentic with your stories. And I mean, that's what I feel, people want these days. Give us the authentic side,
Yeah.
authentic side of who you are and what you're
Mhm.
about and what your brand's about. That's like more relatable, you know,
Mhm. Mhm.
from now, moving forward. It's like, I mean, this trend started from 2023. If you were like intimate with your audience, like even musically, you know, you were getting more engagement. People
Yeah.
were digging you and they were vibing with you. But
Yeah.
if you want to put on this like fake persona, as a creator out there, you're not really going to last. You
Yeah.
know, it's like just like what happened now on the podcast. Not the first time, like something happens. But it's just how it is. And I see so many of these podcasters out there who want to be so perfect and show people that but it's all like this way of, okay, what, to monetize their shows or channels, not really
Mhm.
to educate.
Mhm.
But we want to be so perfect. And I'm like, nah, but show me the other side of it as well. Show me that no matter how good, my work can be as a musician or as an author, that look,
Yeah.
there's a human aspect to it as well.
Yeah.
I make mistakes. Things don't always go according to plan.
I know.
I'm human. So don't be scared. The message you tell you that don't be scared. Just go out there and try.
Right.
It's okay.
Yeah. If it makes you scared, that's okay. Do it. Yeah.
Yeah,
As long
allow
as
the,
it's
as you said,
legal.
allow the mistakes. You
Wait a
learn
second.
more from the
You
failures.
said, don't do illegal stuff.
Yeah, as a we learn more from the failures. Yeah,
Absolutely.
that was what I wanted to say. So when can book 3 like be expected? When will that be out? When
It
are you
will be
hoping that
out
happens?
at the end of April. So in a couple of months, you will be able to read all about the Middle East. and what it's like to sail up the Nile and to, crawl around in the pyramids and ride a camel and I don't know, swim in the Dead Sea and go to Petra. So there's a whole bunch of really cool stuff coming up in book 3, and just yeah, and that's the that's the itinerary piece. So you have to read it to get the details.
Yeah. Like soon as I possibly can, like it's not even like want, like I have to like go to Egypt. For me, that's like, like my next like calling place to actually go to. Like it's a spiritual, like I'm obsessed,
Same.
obsessed,
Same.
Yeah.
Same.
So
Completely obsessed as well, and it did not disappoint. It's crazy busy, and it smells, and it's just overwhelming. It's like sensory overload. And I think for me, the funny thing was that, obviously internet was just at the cusp when I went, and I was basing a lot of my expectations on Indiana Jones movies. And
yeah. Okay.
It wasn't quite that when I got there, but it was an overwhelming, amazing experience that didn't disappoint. It was a lot. It was heavy, but wow, I would say if you can get there, you should go.
Yeah, now I'll get there eventually. Eventually, I will get there. It's another, just for me, it's just another spiritual calling, Like I recall even as a kid, like I was like so obsessed with Egypt. And you remember the movie The Mummy?
Oh, I know.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
so good.
Yeah,
Good.
top of the list, my favorite movies of all time. So
I know Brendan Fraser and that woman was so beautiful. Like, yeah, she was so beautiful. Yes, mine started with this grade 5 project. I don't know if you had them in South Africa, where we would have it on boards, and everyone would have it in the school gym, and everyone would do their project. And the guy beside me did his on the pyramids, and he had a picture of himself on a camel in front of the pyramids. In grade 5, like, how old are you? Like 11 or 10? I had this visceral jealousy, like deep rooted inside my chest. Watch, like, at that picture of him, like on a camel. I'm like, I'm so angry that you got him. And it was just brewed over the years until I got there myself. But yeah, I was maybe not the best way to start, but I knew I wanted to go as well.
yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I mean, there's so much history.
Yeah.
When it comes to that. So, yeah, definitely like on the to-do list. Like I can't explain it fully, like why like I'm in that zone of, Egypt. But yeah, no, awesome. So yeah, so I mean, where can people find you online? You can mention any
Yeah, sure. So you can see my name there,
channels.
Candace MacPhie. It's just CandaceMacPhie.com. And all of the links to all of my books are there. There's pictures from the trip. There's some, overviews, publishing dates. All my information's all on the website. So
All on the website.
yeah.
What would be cool is like if you could do like a conversion, using all these AI tools available now, like book into like this visuals, animated visuals of your journey. That'll be awesome.
I'll have to. I will see if I am technically inclined to make that happen. Because I think I could probably do it, but I might lose a few hairs along the way, or get a few more rays. I'm not sure, but yes.
If you can go around the world and still make it back in one piece and still have a happy, decent life,
I'll have to learn. Now you put a challenge
with
down.
a family, you can do anything.
Exactly.
Anything. You know what I mean? If you can fall asleep on a train, not knowing You know, and just randomly wake up, pay someone to get back to where you needed to be. I mean, you can do anything.
All right. Okay. Thanks. That's pep talk I needed. See, I needed to meet you today. I needed that pep talk. Thank you.
Yeah. No,
Appreciate
I
it.
mean, like, you know, the thought came to my mind, like just thinking about your journey and, you know, like an animated visual of it, like that would be like something cool, you know, to like complement the book itself.
Yes. I like
Just
where
a
you're
thought.
going with
Just a
that.
thought.
I like where you're going with that, indeed. Yeah.
Yeah. You know, organic stories will take you, you know, a long way, a long way,
Mhm.
a long way.
Mhm.
Candace, thank you so much for your time and sharing your experience. You know, it was, you know, like how we started off, you know, the show, like, you know, life and book was one,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
it's one. So thank you for sharing that. And I hope, you know, once again to the listeners, you know, that this can now empower you know, in any formal way, you know, as we said throughout the show. Maybe your purpose is not to travel the whole world, you know,
Mm.
or to have a podcast or to be a musician or any form of creator. You could just be like an average person out there, but you do have a purpose and there's meaning behind your life,
Yeah.
you know. It's just for you to actually take the initiative to find out what that is and follow that gut instinct and just go for it. Go for it. See
100%.
what's up. Yeah, see what's up. You know, and if you need that extra push, pick up your book.
Yes. Do that.
You know,
Thank you.
do that.
It was so lovely to chat with you. Thank you.
You too. Thank you as well. It's a pleasure, and thank you as well. And
Okay.
yeah, see you
Have,
around.
okay.
Okay,
Thanks.
bye.
Bye.
Bye.